Thousands of beginner woodworkers keep buying Ted's Woodworking for one simple reason. Most people are completely overwhelmed before they ever finish their first project. And honestly, that makes sense. Woodworking online can feel incredibly confusing. One person says you need expensive tools. Another says you can build anything with cheap lumber. One tutorial skips measurements. Another assumes you already know advanced joinery. Then beginners start second-guessing everything before they even make the first cut. That is exactly why products like Ted's Woodworking have exploded in popularity. The idea sounds simple. Give beginners step-by-step woodworking plans that remove the guesswork and make projects easier to complete. But the real question is, does it actually help? Or is it just another overhyped woodworking product online? In this video, I want to break down exactly what Ted's Woodworking includes, what beginners should realistically expect, where it helps the most, and whether it is actually worth buying for somebody trying to learn woodworking the easier way. And if you want to look through the plans yourself while watching this review, I linked Ted's Woodworking plans below so you can check everything out firsthand. Now, one thing almost every review mentions immediately is the number of projects included. Ted's Woodworking claims to include over 16,000 woodworking plans. That number sounds almost ridiculous at first. And honestly, most people are never going to build thousands of projects. But the important part is not really the number itself. The real value comes from having access to a massive library of different project types: furniture, storage builds, outdoor projects, workbenches, sheds, cabinets, small beginner builds, garage workshop projects, and woodworking projects people sometimes sell for extra income. For beginners, having that many project ideas in one place can actually remove a huge mental roadblock. Because one of the hardest parts of learning woodworking is figuring out where to even start. Most beginners either choose projects that are way too advanced, or they spend months watching tutorials without ever building anything. That happens constantly. People consume woodworking content all day, but never actually gain confidence because they are stuck in research mode. Plans help solve that problem by giving people a starting point. Instead of trying to design everything yourself from scratch, you follow a structured layout that already includes measurements, cutting lists, and step-by-step instructions. That alone can prevent a huge amount of frustration. And honestly, frustration is one of the biggest reasons beginners quit woodworking. Not lack of talent, not lack of creativity, overwhelm. That is the real problem. One thing I noticed while going through Ted's Woodworking is that the plans are designed to simplify decision-making. And that matters more than beginners realize. Because woodworking becomes mentally exhausting when you constantly have to figure out dimensions, spacing, material amounts, and assembly order on your own. Beginners usually underestimate how much planning goes into even simple projects. That is where woodworking plans genuinely help. They reduce uncertainty, and when uncertainty disappears, confidence starts growing much faster. Another thing beginners struggle with is wasting material. This is probably one of the most frustrating parts of starting woodworking. You buy wood, cut something incorrectly, realize measurements are off, then suddenly the entire board is ruined. That gets expensive quickly. Ted's Woodworking tries to reduce those mistakes by including cutting lists and detailed material breakdowns for projects. That structure can genuinely save beginners money and time, especially if you are still learning measuring and layout skills. Let's talk honestly about the quality, because that matters too. One thing people should understand is this is not some magical perfect woodworking system, where every project feels like a premium cinematic YouTube tutorial. Some plans are extremely detailed and beginner-friendly. Others feel older and simpler. That is probably expected with such a massive collection. So the smartest approach is not obsessing over the number of plans. It is finding projects that match your current skill level and focusing on actually building consistently. Because woodworking improves through repetition, not endless preparation. And honestly, one successful project changes everything mentally. The moment you finish something useful with your own hands, a shelf, a bench, a planter, a workbench, suddenly woodworking feels achievable. That confidence shift matters a lot. Now, another thing Ted's Woodworking includes is woodworking tutorials and educational resources alongside the plan. And for beginners, that combination is important because plans alone are helpful. But understanding why certain steps matter improves your skills much faster. Things like sanding properly, choosing the right wood, avoiding warped boards, planning cuts efficiently, understanding assembly order. Those details separate frustrating projects from successful ones. One thing I actually think beginners need to hear more often is this: your early projects do not need to be perfect. Seriously, most experienced woodworkers made terrible projects when they started. Crooked shelves, uneven cuts, bad finishes, gaps in joints. That is normal. The difference is experienced woodworkers kept building anyway. Beginners often expect perfection immediately. That expectation creates hesitation. Then hesitation turns into procrastination. Then months go by without building anything. Structured plans help reduce that fear because they create clarity. and clarity builds momentum. Another positive thing about Ted's Woodworking is the variety of beginner-friendly projects available. A lot of woodworking content online jumps directly into advanced furniture making or complicated joinery. That intimidates beginners fast. Simple projects are far better for building real confidence. Storage boxes, floating shelves, outdoor furniture, workbench builds, garden projects. Those projects teach core woodworking skills without overwhelming people, and every project builds transferable experience. Measuring, cutting, assembly, sanding, finishing, clamping, material handling. Those skills stack over time. That is why consistency matters more than perfection. Now, of course, no woodworking product is perfect, and I think beginners should understand a few realistic downsides too. The biggest one is probably information overload. 16,000 plans sounds exciting, but it can also become overwhelming if you constantly jump between projects without actually building anything. So the best strategy is keeping things simple. Pick one project, finish it, learn from it, then gradually increase difficulty over time. Another thing worth mentioning is that woodworking plans are tools, not shortcuts to instant mastery. You still need patience. You still need practice. You still need to learn through mistakes. Plans simply reduce avoidable mistakes caused by poor preparation and missing information. That is a huge difference, especially when lumber and tools cost real money. And honestly, saving beginners from discouragement is probably one of the biggest benefits of structured woodworking plans, because confidence is everything early on. Once people realize they actually can build useful projects, woodworking becomes enjoyable instead of intimidating. Another thing I liked seeing mentioned repeatedly was beginner accessibility. Many woodworking tutorials online unintentionally make beginners feel excluded. Industrial equipment, advanced terminology, complex builds. Ted's Woodworking leans more toward making projects feel approachable, and that matters, because most people are learning woodworking in garages, basements, spare rooms, or small home workshops, not professional studios. One thing I would personally recommend for beginners using Ted's Woodworking is focusing heavily on completing projects instead of collecting ideas. The real learning happens during building, not during browsing. Mistakes teach lessons quickly, and every completed project builds confidence for the next one. That momentum is powerful. So, is Ted's Woodworking worth it? Honestly. For beginners who want structure, project ideas, cutting lists, and step-by-step woodworking guidance, I think it can absolutely be useful, especially for people who feel overwhelmed trying to piece everything together from random videos online. Is every single plan perfect? Probably not. But the overall value comes from simplifying woodworking enough that beginners finally start building consistently instead of endlessly researching. And that is ultimately what helps people improve fastest. If you want to check out Ted's woodworking plans yourself, I linked them below in the description. And honestly, the most important thing is not finding the perfect project. It is starting. Because once you successfully build that first project, woodworking feels completely different.